bring Stephanie up. One of the ways we've contributed curriculum to your school is through reading, and we teach reading a little differently. There is a STEM component. There's also kind of a whole unique approach to reading that's done a little bit outside the box. It's highly effective. Reading's obviously very important, so I'm going to let Stephanie come up. She wrote the curriculum, talk about it, give you some examples, answer some questions.
Hi. I was one of the writers, like I can't take credit, and just so you know how this was written, I'm a reading specialist by background, and I also talk and work with parents a lot. So my plan tonight is not to do a ton of talking. I want to give you some opportunities to ask questions. I hope I can just show you enough to instill questions. But first of all, Leanne, these people actually showed up here. Is this like Oprah's that they can like look under their chair and there's a prize? You know, there's just some people that are, hi, sitting at home on the couch, comfortable. You know, I think you guys should get a prize, don't you think, for being here? My background is reading specialist, and I had the privilege of working in a reading clinic for 12 years. And the question that we had was, why is it that some reading programs work for some kids, but not for others? And why is it that some students who are extremely intelligent, have really high vocabularies, are witty, they're fun, but they struggle maybe with writing or spelling? Or maybe you have a student that's really, really good at reading, but they just simply can't remember what they read. And so we asked all those questions and we found those answers. Now the thing with Read It is this. I don't know how many of you remember school, but what I don't understand about general school is this. Did we never meet children one time? Because children are not designed to sit in a desk. They're not designed to pick up a paper and a pencil and do 20 million worksheets. They're just not wired for that. And so Read It was actually created with real kids in mind. In fact, when we put together these lessons in phonics, lessons in spelling, which can be rather boring to children, we literally threw our activities out if we could not keep the kids engaged. So what you are having the privilege of having your kids do here at Discovery is your children are going to be learning things at a great rate. They are going to be doing higher level spelling and phonics, higher level comprehension strategies, but at a rate and a pace that makes them feel successful independently so that they will want to read, they will want to write, and they will, believe it or not, want to spell. So I'm just going to cover a couple things. The first thing I want to show you that I love about Discovery is I want you to go ahead and look in this handout that you have here, and go ahead and turn to the page. So I don't like mine. The one that talks about, it says, unlocking the genius. Your students, if they haven't already, are going to be taking this test. And I even gave you directions on the test, so if you want to do the test at home, you can. Do the test on each other, spouses, find out what your learning style is. But the teachers here at Discovery really care about how your child learns. And not every child learns by sitting in a desk and using paper pencil. And so what this test is designed to do is to show you as a parent how your child learns best. And so this is how you do this test. You simply look at each column. So if I'm looking at column 1, I sit with my child. And in kindergarten and in first grade, by the way, here in this building, this test is all in pictures. It's not with words. But I just wanted you to have this. So I would sit down with my child and I would say, we're going to circle the things that are you. If this is you, I'm going to circle it. If it's not you, I'm not going to circle it. So the first one I'm going to ask is, do you love to read? Now, if your child currently does not love to read, that's okay. If your child says no, don't circle it. Then you go to the next one. Do you like to write? And so on. For as many circles as you put in column 1, at the very bottom in that little space, you put the number of circles that you circled. And then you go to column 2 and you do the same thing in 3, 4, 5, and 6. In the column that your child has the highest scores, that is your child's dominant learning style. And your child will probably dominate in 2 learning styles. So you might have a student who's what we call visual spatial. These are kids that maybe like to draw or create. It could be through computer programming, it could be with Legos. That's what they like to play with at home. They're always creative, maybe play acting. And then what happens is, if your child's visual spatial, if you look in here, so everybody go ahead and look through here and find the visual spatial sheet. It is going to then tell you how your child learns best. And this was based on years of research. So for you, this is another tool that Discovery is offering for you here at the school to help you as a parent, as well as your child's teacher, understand your child as an individual and not be lumped all in the same category. So that's a fun little perk. Now, what I want to show you with Read It are just a few of the things. I'm going to show you how it's different. What we know is less than 50% of kids in the United States are reading at grade level at 4th grade. So in order to change that, we need to do something different. I personally have a son with dyslexia. I also have a talented and gifted son. I know how important it is to make sure that all kids can learn to read independently and with confidence at their level. So we don't, if a student's advanced, we want them to soar. If they're struggling, we want to get them to a place so they too can soar, so that all of our students have confidence. And that's one of the reasons why we decided to work with Dan, is because we know that's his mission. We also know that your principal here, Andy, that's his mission. And your teachers, that's their mission. So your child is going to be tested at the beginning of the year, and in most classrooms they have. And that test lets your teachers know, what kinds of activities do I need to do with each of your individual kids? And the Read It program literally has written lesson plans to individualize that for your child. Okay, so I'm going to show you how some of this works. Do I have any parents here who have kindergarten children? Okay, so let me show you a little bit about kindergarten. If your kindergarten child came into the school and was already reading, your kindergarten child would be automatically put into a 1st grade curriculum, just like that. Okay, and they will start with 1st grade phonics, and they will move on, so then that will not be held back. If your child is coming in and is your average kindergartner that is not reading fluently, then they are going to be starting, like every other kindergarten in America, with consonant sounds. But here's where it's different. We lose kids in kindergarten due to what we call an auditory processing deficit. This is where we lose kids straight out of the gate. These are kids that when you ask them to rhyme, they cannot hear that rhyming. If you say, what's the difference between I and a, they cannot hear the difference. Nothing is wrong with their hearing. It's just that their auditory processing might be developing more slowly. So what we have to do is, I don't care how much more slowly I talk or how much more loudly I speak. If I say, do frog and dog rhyme, and your child happens to be one that struggles with rhyming, and they go, I don't know. I can't just keep saying, frog, dog. Can you hear it? And they're like, frog, dog. I know we laugh, but that's traditionally what's done. And then they're frustrated and they come home and they say, I hate school. Okay, so now, let's say that I know that this is the issue. So what I'm going to do now is just to get rid of that altogether, and I'm teaching sounds. I'm going to teach them in pairs the way that we use them in speech. So we're going to go back to kindergarten for a second, and I want all of you to say sounds and put your hand right here in your mouth so you can feel the air coming out. Ready? Say t, t, d, d. Okay, now my teeth are doing the exact same thing. When I say t and when I say d, my mouth is doing the exact same thing. So this makes these two friends. Now, put your hand on your throat and say t. Now say d. D. Do you feel your motor running when we say d? So this friend happens to be the quiet friend, and this friend happens to be the noisy friend. And then I say to the kids, which one are you? And some of them are like, oh my goodness, I'm the quiet one, but Susie's noisy, or my little brother's the noisy friend, So they have fun with this. Now how the Read It curriculum goes through is we're going to teach 2 consonants, and we're going to teach them as friends. Just going to move along here. And then we're going to teach 2 more, 2 more. Then we introduce our first vowel sound, the I, short vowel, and then watch what happens. We immediately start reading and writing words. So very shortly into the curriculum, your kindergarten children are going to be reading and writing words. So if you're wondering why they don't start out with the letter A and then move to B and then C and then D, this is why. Research, there's a ton of research behind this particular method. Our prediction is 99, if not 100% of your kindergartners are going to be walking out extremely successful with this. Because it is so multisensory, your students are also going to be learning sight words right away, because not all words can be sounded out. So that's a little bit about kindergarten phonics. I just want to show that. That's one difference. Now, for those of you that are like, well, okay, that's fine, but I have older kids. So let's look and see phonics at an older level. Now, something interesting that many of you may or may not know, back in the day when I was in school, they used the Dick and Jane series. Did any of you have Dick and Jane? Okay. How many of you had a method, maybe you don't know, it was called whole language, where you just read stories all the time, but you never had phonics and you maybe rarely had spelling? Any of you have that? That's a really lovely kind of picky time in reading. How many of you actually had phonics in reading? Okay, if you look around the room, there's hardly any hands up. Now, here's the thing about the American language. We use phonics to read. This is going to be a newsflash for you. Are you ready? We do not use phonics to spell. What? If you are Spanish speaking, you use phonics in reading and in writing. And it's so much easier. But if you're French, or if you're American, you do not. What is spelling? Well, let me set this down. Do you know how many different ways we spell the long A sound in America? 13. 13 different ways to spell long A. We get all 13 of those from different places. Some have Latin origin, some have Greek, some are German, some are French, some are Spanish. They come from all over the world. So your children are not going to learn spelling with phonics. They are going to learn spelling from origin of the word and with rules. There are 30 popular spelling rules, and this one is demonstrating the C rule. Which, aren't you glad you don't have to go back and learn all these rules? So I'm going to, well, I may not be able to, I'm going to just skip that and go to the next thing. Okay, so this is just showing you. So whenever your student is learning a rule, because again, my audience is children, there will always be a picture. So the children are going to learn that when G, this train is coming down the G track, and when it bumps into an E, Y, or I, it says J. Anything else, it says G. Then we say to the students, this is a picture that I created. I want you to create a picture for your G rule. What are you going to have going and to bump into the E, I, or Y? It could be a ball that's bouncing, and when it bumps into the E, I, or Y, it goes outfield if you're baseball, or it goes out of bounds if you're basketball. So there's different ways. What we do is we try to get the students to picture the rules for themselves, because then what we do is we have them practice reading and spelling using that rule. So when I read, and this is a 5th grade curriculum that's up here, so trust me, when your 2nd graders learning the G rule, they're not writing geography. But the student learns that when G is followed by an E, I, or Y, it says J. So this is going to not only help me read the word, it's going to help me to spell the word. Your child is also then going to be playing games to practice this, because children are created to play games. The teachers here have been instructed they cannot take the games away from the kids' due to behavior. Games here are not a privilege, they are part of the curriculum, because kids learn from games. So what your child will be doing is they're either going to be playing an online game, they're going to be playing hands-on games. If you ask your teachers for different resources, they may be able to help you if your child is struggling with some of the rules here. I wanted to show you. Now, sometimes your kids are going to have a video.
C-O-G in a word before E-Y-O-I. You make it sound like a J, and that's a soft G. Like H,
Again, highly engaging. So your children are going to be learning the rules in a way that works well for them, but they are going to be spelling better than you've ever seen. It's just not as traditional. Now, something to tell you parents. Did you know that when you have your child write a word 10 times each, you are actually weakening the part of the brain that they need to spell? When we spell, we don't use our rote memory as much as we use our visual memory. And unfortunately, in our society today, our visual memories are getting weaker and weaker all the time. For example, when is the last time you memorized a phone number? So there are activities that you can do to strengthen visual memory, and I gave you one in your handout, and this is how we want you to practice spelling words at home. Let's say that you have a child, let's just say first grade, who comes home and the spelling word is shoe. Now, if I'm spelling shoe phonetically, I'm going to probably spell it S-H-O-O or S-H-U. And what I'm going to tell your child if they do spell it that way is I'm going to say, excellent, that's exactly what it sounds like. I can tell you've been paying attention in class in phonics, because here we do phonics to teach reading. Excellent. Unfortunately, spelling doesn't use phonics half the time. So let me show you how that word looks. Then you write the word shoe for your child, and you say, let's underline the tricky part. Which part's the tricky part in the word shoe, and what are they going to say? O-E, that's right. We underline the tricky part. Then I say, okay, flip your paper over. I don't want you to see the word shoe. I'm going to tell you how to put this in your imagination, because when you're walking around, you can't have this piece of paper with you. And I want you to always have it in your mind's eye or your imagination. So what I want you to do is I want you to imagine a whiteboard in front of you. So all of you, go ahead now, and I want you to make a whiteboard like this. Now, the good news is it doesn't have to be white. What color do you want your board to be? Your finger is going to be your imaginary marker. What you are going to do is you're going to have your child write that word in the air. If you're writing it with them, make sure you turn so that they don't have to mirror it. Because if I write it this way, then I'm expecting them to mirror it. And for our kiddos that are struggling with spelling anyway, saying things backwards is not a good idea. So I'm going to write S-H-O-E with my child. Now, if you just have them write it in the air and that's all you do, it's a waste of everybody's time. So if you say, oh no, we practiced writing words in the air and it didn't work, let me show you the next step and the most important step. Now I'm going to say, look at that word on your board. What color was your board again? The child might say purple. Okay, and what color was your marker? Pink. Okay, look at that pink word, shoe, on your purple board. There's research to show us that kids with weaker visual memory, if they can see it in color, it's going to help them more. So, okay, look at that word shoe. What was the tricky part? Point to it for me. So they're going to point in the air to the O and the E. What were the first two letters? S-H. Spell it for me backwards. E-O-H-S. What we are doing now is we're literally exercising the brain. This technique is called visual imagery. So if you want to look it up, you can definitely do that, or symbol imagery. Now, the next day, when you ask your child to spell shoe, I want to tell you what's probably going to happen. They might get it right, but they might spell it like this. S-H-O-A. Why did they do that? Because they remembered that there was something, that there was a tricky part, and there was some letter in there that did not make any sense. They just couldn't remember which one it was. So then you say, oh my gosh, that's excellent. You did exactly what I wanted you to do. You went from how a word sounds to what it looks like. You just simply couldn't remember what that last letter was. Let me show you the correct way to spell it. Now, when you're practicing spelling with your children, if they get it right, don't make them write it in the air. It's only if they get it wrong, because you want to help them to hold it. And as they're learning words, you always want to, like if I'm teaching the C rule, I also want to do the G rule, so they're applying two things at once. We want to keep them away from rote memory. We don't want them to spell cat, rat, bat, fat, because guess what? There's no thinking involved with that. That's passive. Okay? So that is how we want you to do spelling. Okay, so we don't just do phonics and we don't just do spelling, we also do comprehension here. Oops. And when we're teaching comprehension strategies, we always start with a movie. Because if I'm teaching a student how to make inferences, I don't know if you remember, but when I went to school, the teacher said, read between the lines. I was very literal, and I was literally looking for words in between the lines. We've tried to be so complicated with comprehension, or what's the main idea? Well, they can't possibly do it in reading until they can do it in real life. So we use a language that kids understand. So students will be directed to movies, much like this one.
Keep calm. Here's an emotional moment with fear. One of the emotions from Disney Pixar's Inside Out. Where did you get those shoes? Those are shoes of doom!
Scary. This is gonna be good. You better take back those shoes.
All right, what are we watching?
Fear, I don't think you can handle this. It's a scary movie.
Thank you, Joy. But I'll have you know, I'm not scared of everything.
Oh, my feet! They feel possessed!
Send them off, Martha! We're the wonderful.
So then what will happen is the teacher will direct the students and ask them questions about analyzing the characters. Who were the characters? What were they like? Let's describe them. Then your teachers are going to bring it into the classroom and say, let's describe each other. So now it has become a real life skill. Now when I'm reading and I'm talking about analyzing characters, I have some real world things to do. The videos are chosen grade level appropriate, so in kindergarten they're watching Grover from Sesame Street, all the way up to their Pixar, their Disney, and as far as if you're worried that your kids are going to be watching movies all day, all the movies are between 1 and 3 minutes long. So it's just a very short part of the lesson, and they don't watch movies every day. There's also comprehension games that the students will be playing to be able to practice the skill, and they will be practicing it by reading. So we do get them into reading. I don't know if you remember those tests where you had to read a paragraph and then you had to answer questions. Okay? The last thing I want to show you before Carter comes up is I just want to show you how STEM is put right into the curriculum. So this is a 4th grade curriculum, and we're talking about cause and effect using STEM. So the question, because STEM is problem solving, what is going to happen if Sam does not apply sunscreen? And here it is, 9 o'clock. And if I move this slide across, okay, I'm trying to get the slide to go, but there we go. Then all of a sudden, he gets quite sunburned. Okay, so that's cause and effect. Then we also, again, will take the students into learning about cause and effect with a video to help them understand a little bit more about cause and effect. So I can just get out of this, you're getting the general gist. And then it moves on and takes kids into where they're going to be learning some details about cause and effect using some literary skills, the Minnesota standards. And then finally, what's really cool is students are going to be, I think I have this up here. I thought I did. They are going to be, oops, I'm sorry, thought I had this already. Actually, instructed to be doing a computer programming activity and or a 3D print activity, where students will literally learn how to do 3D printing. And this is
Today, we will be designing an open-sided cube. Look at 3D shapes. That's like the second option.
And as you can see, it's spoken to them so that they can follow the directions if they're struggling with reading it. So that's a little blurb about what you have going in Read It. As you can tell in Read It, there's reading, writing, spelling, phonics, all the levels of comprehension. There's fluency. Yes, your kids are reading books. I just kind of showed you some of the different things that they're doing. At this point, I guess, what questions do you have about reading or what you've seen so far from home? Yes?
If we have somebody who is like in second grade now, had a really rough start, how likely is it that they'll be able to catch on to this if this isn't how they learned in kindergarten and in first grade?
Excellent question. So what Read It does is it provides all of your teachers with 3 tiers of learning. So let's say your child came in at second grade and didn't have any of this. It will take them all the way back to those beginning skills using tactile feeling. And it is designed to get them on course with the rest of the class. Yep. Yeah.
So you mentioned that they take what they're learning in these slides, and there might be a classroom component. Is that what you said, that they're reinforcing the learning with a classroom activity? Or did I misunderstand?
So all of these are classroom activities. So
Are they doing it as a large class?
okay, good question. So a lot of the comprehension strategies will be done whole class, but when it comes to breaking down to their level, that's done small group. And then the teachers have individual activities that your students are working on independently to reinforce whatever skills they've been working on, either whether it's a comprehension strategy, a spelling, or a small group strategy. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, I was just making sure how it's individualized yet reinforced as a classroom. How does that?
They start with the beginning talk time with the whole class. They break into groups, they come together to a shared time. If that makes sense. Is what the design looks like. Yes?
What about maths? How do I know that what they should know by the time they have graduated from whatever grade they are in? So is there a published list of the things they should know?
For reading and spelling?
No.
Or maths?
Mathematics.
Mathematics, okay, so that's a Dan question. I'm the reading curriculum person, so I can tell you that yes, there is a list of the standards that they're going to learn in reading, writing, and spelling, and all of your teachers have that. So if you want to see at a glance where they're starting and where they will be at the end of the year, that's actually all on one sheet of paper. I don't know what you guys are using for math. Any other questions about the reading before Carter gets into the sound? Yes?
So if you have a first grader who aren't reading at a second, third grade level, do that teacher have the advanced or just the back?
Nope, they have the advanced. So their lesson plans are actually called 1A, which stands for advanced. So they will be actually starting with wherever your child is. They give beginning of the year assessments and they take them ahead. So good chance your child will be doing third grade phonics, third grade spelling, third grade comprehension. Yes?
What would you say is the best thing you could do at home, not wanting to teach it differently, or to support the curriculum rather than
Well, your classroom teacher is going to have some really good ideas for you because only he or she is going to actually know specifically how they're talking about it. The spelling was one of the things I wanted to show you. There is a handout in there too if you have kids that are flipping letters or making them backwards, which by the way does not mean they have dyslexia, but there's a tip there. I send teachers all the time tips for parents, so if you have something specific, but I would say for the most part when your child's reading, make sure that they're not frustrated, make sure they're reading at their own level, read out loud to them, and when you're asking them questions, try not to interrogate them, kind of treat it like a book club. You know, oh, what's your favorite character? Or why is this your favorite part? I would say that would be the most helpful. But I think also as teachers are going through the Read It program, for example, when they're learning the 20 most popular vowel sounds, they're using this thing called the Word Maker Square. Your teachers may want to show you how to do that at home, and that's perfectly fine. They may want to show you how they're doing sight words. Every teacher's just a little bit different, and I want to make sure that they have the freedom to do some of those things, so I would say you can ask them. Any other questions? I am going to hang around for a little bit after, so if you want to talk to me personally about your child, you certainly can. But Mr. Carter, I'm going to let you take over.
All right, thanks. Stephanie's pretty modest. going back when I started STEM Fuse, one of the first things I decided was I would never get involved in reading education. I said that to many people. Stephanie's got about 12 years experience with this, the curriculum that your students are using, of readers of all levels, as she described, and it works. So I talked to her about it, and I decided to change my mind, and it's the best thing STEM Fuse has done is connect with reading, especially the way it's designed and the way your students are learning it. So we're excited about that. Really quick, let me go back where I started talking about STEM. How excited I am that this school is a STEM school, and that STEM really means problem solving and applied learning. And I'm just going to give you a couple examples of some of the things the students will learn and how that fits really into every classroom, regardless of grade or subject. And I'll show you that. While I'm doing that, I'm not the most exciting cat in the world, so if you guys want to see what's going on with the latest technology, we are printing a cactus over there, and probably be done about the time we wrap up. So feel free to stop by and look at that. And you're going to ask, why a cactus? Well, let me show you. Yeah, we only go to 3rd grade. So what we've done at STEM Fuse is we've created about 23 different courses, kindergarten through college. Courses meaning standards aligned to each state. So everything your students are being taught here aligned to Minnesota standards. We had a question on math. What I'm going to show you is not full math curriculum. I'll let Dan handle that. But the examples and the little STEM lessons are aligned to state Minnesota standards. So let's go to like 3rd grade. Just an example of how STEM can be in any subject, regardless of grade or course. Let's go to 3rd grade. Yep, let's go to social studies. All right, you're thinking, all right, social studies, social sciences. How does science, technology, engineering, and math connect with social studies? Let me show you. So one of the things they learn in 3rd grade is ecosystems. So Steph, if you just want to open up that first folder, thanks. All right, we're going to learn about ecosystems. You can just hit next for me for a second. Okay. All right, so we're going to learn about aquatic ecosystems, water, terrestrial land. I'm not going to take you through all of the content in this presentation. There's a lot, actually, for a little supplement. There's a lot. Very interactive, very cool. Go ahead and hit finish exploring it for me. And then you can hit next. Yep. So one of the things we would do